another day in the cryptocurrency market, and we see that the market cap came back to $2.5 trillion and then is slowly bouncing right now. So if we are focusing on different assets, we can see some of them in red, majority of them in green. But what we have to understand is the general trend in the market. So if we are focusing on the entire altcoins, you see this. So you look at the RSI, you have a trend which is valid from 2019 and you're still following that particular support, which is really important. Then you look at the macro trend, you're projecting to the upside. Each time you have an impulse, it's getting higher. The ROI is increasing. So next time, if you follow the history and if you learn from the history, that means you're going to go higher than that, right? Your resistance is above. But as of now, we are near a point where we are going to break out from a trend. That's a short-term trend within that macro trend line. So that's going to give us a lot of momentum. So as the market picks up momentum, you do have to look at other stuffs too. So this is Ether BTC chart where you look at Ethereum showing you that it was head and shoulder, showing the trend is reversing. We are going to the upside. Great. Now you broke to the upside. You came back. From that time, you're actually making a bull flag, right? Right now, if you look at this bull flag, the recent low has been a higher low. And before that, it again has been a higher low. So that indicates you are moving to the upside. You're completely moving to the upside. Great. So that's Ether BTC pair, again showing the RSI from 2019 till now in a support line, bouncing each time when it comes back to that level. Then you look at Ethereum USD. You see a different trend where it's continuing upside. It's the same, but it's just breaking through its previous highs. The all-time high which we had was back in April-May time when we peaked out, right? As of now, you're breaking above that on a weekly candle. This is a weekly chart where you are like, okay, the macro scenario is changing. Money is pouring into Ether, whereas BTC is slowing down. So if you analyze BTC, this is what you see. Look at the chart and focus on the support resistance zone and what exactly is the price doing here. Because now you see the price come down to that macro support, it bounced. Great. So while you look at this, you see it bouncing to the upside here. Great. Then it come back to the support. Why? Because when it was going to the upside, it has a resistance. It had a resistance, slowed down there and then bounced. Now it come back to retest that resistance, turned into support and is bouncing right now. You see the same stuff happening here. Just the scale is a little bit less. So here you went up, you tested this previous resistance and it was acting as a resistance even at that time. That's the most important stuff there. Then you broke that one. Now you're coming back to retest this and you're getting that bounce, which really is important because when there is a lot of bears kind of FUD, kind of, that kind of scenario in the market, you should be either a bear or a bull. Because if you are not among them, you're going to be in that carnage where you're going to lose everything. So now, from that 3-day pattern, if you're going to take a step in, zoom in to just look at what's happening right now, it's really interesting. So yes, we need to go through in detail from these towards our XRP and then detail what's happening right now so you know the idea what to look ahead for next days ahead. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Recently, in one of my Twitter posts, I was highlighting this. While we get the information from the IMF highlighting that, stand still on the debt, now that's concerning. If you know how the market is going to change, if that happens, that's fine if you're prepared. If not, that's really concerning. You need to be on real assets. You need to be on hard assets. You need to be on different type of assets where your purchasing power is preserved. Because if you're completely in fiat, may God bless you. But it's going to be really worse. If you listen to a lot of investors, if you listen to those guys who have been in the market, who have seen this stuff repeating again and again in last 40-50 years, they would give you similar situation. They would give you this is mostly what's going to happen. And if you want to protect yourself, these are the stuff which you can actually focus on. So you can be a gold investor, you can be a silver investor just to preserve your purchasing power. But to increase your purchasing power when that's happening, you can look at asset class which actually pumps, and crypto is one among them. Now, the idea here is, say, for example, your country is right now printing dollars or whatever your fiat currency is, like the printing machine have a diarrhea. Great. So what happens? You are increasing the supply of that particular stuff. What is that? It's the currency. It's the fiat currency there, which you use as a medium of exchange. So now what happens? When the supply increases and the demand is kind of same, or it's going down with the current health crises, yeah, in some parts it's actually recovering, but you're not back up to that level where you actually needed this. So say before 2 years, we had, say, X amount of money supply and X amount of demand. Now we don't have that much demand, but in last 2 years the supply went sky high. So now the rebalancing in the valuation is coming in. You see that with inflation in a lot of different countries. Just looking at the price of egg, milk, the daily products, you understand that. So if you really want to be prepared for what's really coming ahead, that's going to be a carnage if you are not well prepared. So as just a word of caution, that would be helpful. Now, understand, we see utility, we look at stuff which is really important, and yes, we understand there is a lot of issue happening just behind the crypto market, right? You have the SEC going against it. You don't see them looking at the proper reality before they jump in or out to take any decision. So that's why we look to this. Now, that's the fundamental side of it. And also understand, the market cycle always plays its role. So if you are believing we are going to go down by, say, November, December, or whatever time frame a lot of other guys show you, now it's their opinion, I respect them, but personally I don't think we are at this particular point where we are going to go down, because you have like different zones. That's like the initial zone of markup, then the mid one, and the last one. So if you ask me, I don't personally think we are at the last stage or near that last stage. Whereas if you look at the price fluctuation and the accumulation range and all, you kind of get to see for most of the asset. I repeat, not all assets, because some of them went like 100x, 1000x, super crazy. Whereas others, you see a lot of opportunity. Now, the benefit here is when some of them are nearing the top, you have a lot of them at the bottom. So if you were riding this, and even if you didn't get the 1000x, if you managed to get 5 or 10x, now your purchasing power just went up. So if you are using that purchasing power to funnel that back into assets which are still early, before the wave 2, you're going to increase your purchasing power. You're going to have that compounding impact. So before the market goes down, you can take your profit out. Now, catching the exact top is going to be super hard, and you don't actually need to do that, or you don't even have to try to do that. You just try to get somewhere close to the top, not the exact top, because that's hard and it's going to be super risky. If you're going to try and fail, it's going to bleed your portfolio. You really don't want to enter into that territory. So now, as we just discussed, if you jump onto the Ether USD, Ether right now is showing you a price of 4,410, which is actually super high. So while looking at the price action on a daily, you see it's moving high, and you had this flag pattern where you were having a little bit of correction. So this is how you actually zoom in and look at different assets where you're like, okay, fine, you had resistance range. Now in that resistance, you are right now staying below that, but the probability is you're going to break to the upside. Now, why do I say that? Because the general trend here is moving to the upside. You came back, you bounced at that support. So now chances are high you're going to go up. That's in the RSI. Now you look at the story in the MACD, you see it bouncing. MACD bouncing from there means a lot. Now that's on a daily. Now, if you step back and look at it on a 3-day, you get even more bullish scenario. You look at the RSI, it's just going to enter into that overbought territory. I know There's a lot of guys who say once you reach the overbought territory, sell everything, run away from the market. But if you look at the history to understand what usually happens when you enter into that overbought territory, how high the price can fluctuate, you will be surprised. Just look at this time frame when you are entering there in that peak valley. You just entered there here, November 2020, and you remained in that area before you actually fell down till February. So it's like November, December, Jan and Feb. So like 3.5, 4 months, you were completely near that territory where you are overbought. You are getting overbought, but the price kept going higher and higher. So if you are going to repeat that, that's going to be great fluctuation. But this differs from here if it's going to 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, or even as they say, maybe 20,000. That's 5x for you from here. But other assets, you see a lot of potential. Say now, it's not just being the XRP maxi here, just trying to show the reality, because we try to buy assets which are at the support and undervalued. So when you look at these stuff, you clearly understand that the entire market, as an altcoins, are going up, and XRP is still near a support range. XRP BTC pair shows it's near historical low. So what usually an investor does to make money is to buy low and sell high. I know it really sounds so easy, but it's not that easy all the time, because you really have to make sure what is the low there at that time, what can be the proper high. So if you have been following XRP, the XRP ledger, all sorts of improvement on that system, adoption, expansion, new brain power coming into the system, development, you are way sure that any price which is at least 10 to 100 times from the previous top should be the current fair price. Now that's just my thought process. I don't know how you are going to think about it, but look at XRP BTC pair to compare it, because we just actually talked about an Ether BTC pair, and you saw that you had an accumulation range, you broke higher, you went up, great. Now you're in a flat position before you move higher. But what concerns me there is, like, usually when you have a good golden cross, you kind of get the price coming back to the moving average zone and then bounce from there. So we are not sure whether that's going to happen there, but right now, if you look at XRP BTC pair, you are just close to that bottom level, and you are near that moving average. So if you are to bounce from there, from that 50-day moving average, your 200-day moving average has a lot of room to the upside. So that allows you to increase your momentum and jump to the next tier there. So keeping this in mind, that we are still at the bottom, we haven't even started the real move. Comparing it with Ether, yeah, we have been slow in previous cycles too. We have been slow even in the corrections too. But when we start moving upside, that's when we start that enormous momentum in XRP. Now, while comparing it with the Bitcoin, say this is a kind of zoomed in view of Bitcoin chart, where you're looking at a 4-hour chart of Bitcoin. Okay, what was that? Fine. That was like 4-hour chart of Bitcoin breaking through, and you had the moving average as a resistance along with the trend line resistance, but you managed to break higher. That's actually a good sign there. You can say, like, okay, that's good. Now, that's on a shorter term. Now you step back to see what really means when that's breaking higher. Because you had an impulse to the upside, as you can see here. Then you had the flag pattern, which you are breaking to the upside right now. So when you're looking back at this, last time you had the impulse to the upside, you corrected down and you broke higher. Great. You had a little bit of slow down there, then it moved to the upside. So I can say, like, on this asset, I don't think it has completed its bull run yet, because in time series analysis I see it's going towards the end of 2022 or even early 2023. So if it's going to do like 80,000, 85,000, till that time I'm like, what's it going to do in the meantime? Just be sidewise the chances are really low for that. We may go to 80, then come back to 60, then go to 90, 100, come back to like 65, 70, and then go to 110, 20. That can be still happening. So say $120,000 Bitcoin is something which you can eye for in this cycle. Now, yeah, I agree. The 500,000 or a million, $500,000 or $1 million Bitcoin in the cycle, it's actually hard to believe looking at how the price action is moving in the macro trend. But right now, when you look at XRP and you go into the charts, one thing is for sure for anyone who look at the charts and say, I understand technicals. Because the language of technical analysis shows you that the price came down here, it bounced. The price came down here, it bounced. The price came down here and bounced. Again, that's happening. But the difference here is previously you had both the moving average above you. So when you were going up, you were slow. Then the next time when you came back down, you had only one moving average above you. The 200-day moving average was below and you were really going to the upside. That was all cool, great. Then you bounced. Now, right now, both the moving average, say the 200-day and the 50-day moving average, is below the price, meaning acting as a support, or at least we are above the general trend of 50 days or 200 days, which is bullish. Which really is bullish. I don't know how many of you are actually pointing towards that idea, but that really means a lot. Then, in that, you plot the support and you understand, like, at this particular trend line, we have been bouncing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So this is the 7th time we are reaching there. If you look at the history and we learn something from that, it's like the chances are high. The probability is, say, 70% that we are going to go to the upside from there. And what would be the upside from there? You can go look at, say, 3-day, weekly, and come to a conclusion as in an assumption, it's going to do this in 10 days. It's going to do this in 1 month. If you're looking like that, you will get your top somewhere close to like $7, $8, that range. Now, that's not super high valuation for XRP, but for just first impulse, that is a good ROI. Because if you've been accumulating this asset, understanding its potential, now you know what it is doing. Because to understand where you're going, you literally have to know where you came from and where we are at right now. We've been at the top of $3.8. We've been going down ever since. We came back down. We hit the bottom. We accumulated. That was the accumulation range. We broke above. SEC came down. But we are still moving to the upside. Remember, those who are new to this market, I always understand this. You went back down till here when the SEC case was out. From there, you're already 20x to the upside and came back correcting to the support and you're bouncing. You're not coming back to the downside. I repeat, if you don't understand this, get it clear. You're not coming back below this range. You're staying above, you're moving above. And if you always see the parabolic rise, you see 3 huge impulse from it. So the first one you can consider like this, second one like this. So the third one is the trend changer here, which would be your first impulse in your wave 2. Now, yeah, it gets a little bit confusing there, the macro wave, microwave, nano wave kind of stuff, but it's always better to try to keep it simple. So the RSI shows you it's nearing the breakout. We don't know whether it's going to break out to the upside, break to the downside. We don't know, but the idea is when you get enough volume, it's going to be a run to the upside because the volume right now is going down. If you look at the volume candles here, we had volume back in April, May. Then from that time, it's actually going down. So ever since that, we didn't get much of volume. But from here, my point is, as we get more volume, we are going to increase the momentum. And the direction is the macro trend. Trend is your friend, whether it's me saying or any other. Guys, that's the same. It doesn't change. So once you understand that concept and then zoom in to look where we are, you're like, okay, this is the pattern which we are in on a daily. We came to the support, we bounced. We had the moving average as support. It got resisted on the daily. But the next day as we opened, we moved upside. So the moving average is now a support. Then just above that, you have a trend line which is acting as a resistance. So once you break that one, you're going to rise higher. Now at the same time, you look at the RSI, you have something similar. You came back down to the support, you bounced. Now to the upside, you have a little bit space within that pattern where you need to break to the upside to continue, or come back down to test the support, repeat and rinse and repeat until we break out of this. So that's the update there. Guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already, because that supports the channel a lot. And if you are looking forward for a lot of different updates on a lot of different coins which you have in your portfolio, which you see is pumping, to see where you are entering, where should you enter, where you should take your profits, what you are looking at, which is going to impact your portfolio, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description. But one word there is like you can actually look to enter on 1st or 2nd of the next month in your country, so it's going to be easy for you to get the maximum value for the payment of that month. Now it's all there. The information is there for majority of the assets if you are strongly following a lot of different assets, because the market shows different structure, different ROI for different assets. And if you are in some of them, it's really important to understand where the price is breaking out, which is your target, where when you're nearing the target, take your profits out, rotate, right? That's what you do in a medium term, not in short term, because I don't do that in short term, right? So if you're a short term trader, don't try to join. It won't be helpful for you. If you think like an investor, if you want to act like an investor, that should be a good starting point for you. So guys, I'll be meeting you on the next video. Bye for now.